So it's that time of year again. Rumors and speculation of what next year's NASCAR schedule will look like are starting to pop up. So now would be a good time to create my ideal 2024 NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Now I wish I could have made this schedule be exactly how I wanted, because trust me, there are some tracks on the schedule that I wish I could just forget altogether. So here are some of the rules that I had to schedule around. First would be the dates that have already been confirmed. It would be pretty stupid of me to change the dates of races that are already confirmed for next year, even if I really wanted to. So for example, the Daytona 500 will be February 18th, and the championship race at Phoenix, not Homestead, will be November 3rd. Next, I factored in tracks and dates that are rumored to happen. There's a possibility that Bristol Dirt will be off the schedule next year. So guess what? It ain't on my schedule. And the same applies to other rumors that are out there. Number of races per network. In case you never noticed, there are 38 total races during the season, with 36 of them being points races. The 2 exhibition races, the Clash and the All-Star race, belong to Fox. So in total, Fox gets the first 19 events, and NBC gets the last 19 events. This is important to keep in mind for later, because the Olympics will be taking place next summer. NBC's broadcasting rights for the Olympics conflict with the NASCAR schedule, and because of this, the Olympics will be given the spotlight from NBC, while NASCAR will be forced to take a 2-week summer vacation. This also happened back in 2016 and 2021, in case you forgot. Weather. It was such a pain to try to schedule races in the spring because for most of the country, it's still pretty cold, and NASCAR is very limited on where they can go. It just wouldn't make any sense to put Montreal in February to replace Auto Club. And that leads me to my final criteria, realism. I tried to make this as realistic as possible, so even though I'd like to see a race in Australia, it's not realistic just yet. Also keep in mind that I try to limit the amount of tracks that have 2 dates, so if you're upset that your favorite track lost a date, well, too bad. The 2024 season opens with the Clash. It's been at the LA Coliseum the past 2 years, and I enjoyed it, but TV ratings and attendance were down this year, and as time goes on, it's just going to continue to lose its luster. So we're going to move it back to Daytona, back to Saturday night, just like my childhood, and it's going to be on February 10th, the night before the Super Bowl. Then of course on Thursday we'll have the duels, and then on Sunday the 18th is the Great American Race. With Auto Club being gone for 2024, the West Coast swing is going to look a little different. Sonoma will take its place, but it'll instead be the 4th race of the season, with Vegas and Phoenix following Daytona. Finally, NASCAR will get to experience Green Sonoma. After the West Coast swing, we have Atlanta and COTA in the same spots, but next is Easter. The past 2 years it was Bristol Dirt, but for 2024, North Wilkesboro is rumored to get the Easter Sunday slot, so we're going to put that as a night race on Easter. Now this part of the schedule has never made any sense to me. Like, why are all the short tracks back to back to back? Attendance is weak for those races because they're all so close to each other. So we're going to tweak that just a little bit, with Richmond following North Wilkesboro, and then Talladega the week after. And here we have our first new track of the year. 20 years since its last Cup race, Rockingham returns to the schedule, followed by Martinsville to close out April. May is relatively unchanged, except Kansas loses its spring date. Love the track, but attendance in the spring is usually pretty weak. And then we have the All-Star race. Honestly, the All-Star race could disappear and I wouldn't really care, but since Fox needs that TV date, I guess it has to stay. So with that, Charlotte returns as the home of the All-Star race. It's great with the next-gen car, and would put on a better show than most alternatives. Gateway stays in the same slot, but Watkins Glen is now moved to the 2nd week of June, where Sonoma would normally be. Some are saying that Montreal would get this date, but the track is an F1 race that's also in June, so that just wouldn't work out. NBC's portion of the schedule is now moved up a week because of the Olympics, so Nashville is on Father's Day. The entire summer schedule is really different, so buckle up. Next I'll put New Hampshire as a filler, and then on June 30th we have Daytona. Chicago, if it happens again, which I want it to, is already going to be scheduled for July 7th, so June 30th would be the closest I can get Daytona to returning to its old date. It'll also be Sunday night instead of Saturday, because TV ratings are higher on Sundays compared to Saturdays. After Daytona is the Chicago Street Course, followed by Pocono. And then, on July 21st, the NASCAR Cup Series will make its Canadian debut at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec. This is the perfect race to lead into the Olympic break because it'll give teams some extra time to get out of Canada and to prepare for the final stretch of the regular season. So 2 weeks after Montreal, The Milwaukee Mile will also make its Cup Series debut. Milwaukee is on this year's Truck Series schedule, and since Road America is gone, this can also fill the void for the Wisconsin market. And it's pretty close to downtown, so it's perfect. Then, it's Indianapolis week. But there are two big differences. First, the Brickyard 400 returns to the Oval. It's rumored to be coming back. I want it to come back, so it makes sense. But NBC needs another race to make up for the lost week from the Olympics. Back in 2021, Pocono had a doubleheader weekend. But instead of a track getting an extra date, I propose that NASCAR has a Wednesday night race at IRP, the short track just a few miles west of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This can build up the hype for the Brickyard 400 revival and get the Indianapolis market stoked about NASCAR again, all while keeping teams in a central location for a week. It'll probably never happen, but they should consider it. To close out the regular season, Atlanta becomes the finale, Sunday night, under the lights on primetime TV. I always thought that since Atlanta became a super speedway, it should become the regular season finale while Daytona goes back to July. And since this is my fantasy, I'm gonna make it happen. As for the playoffs, the only two changes are that Michigan is now in the playoffs, and Kansas is in the round of 12 instead of the round of 16. Also, the Roval is staying. We don't need 3 Charlotte Oval races in the same year. But you know what isn't staying? Texas Motor Speedway. Not gonna lie, I planned on keeping Texas, but there just wasn't really a spot for it on my schedule. So let's say in a hypothetical world that Texas in 2024 is getting reconfigured, or turned into a Buc-ee's. Either one works. So in total, we have 6 super speedways, 6 road courses, 12 short tracks, and 12 intermediates. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. The only tracks that have 2 dates are Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, Charlotte, Darlington, Martinsville, Las Vegas, and Phoenix. I wanted to take more dates away, but there was only so much I could do. So yeah. Anyways, that's gonna do it for Motorstar's 2024 NASCAR schedule. It's not perfect, but there's lots of hoops to jump through to make everything work. I'll have a link to the full spreadsheet so you can see the entire schedule for yourself. Also comment down below what your ideal 2024 schedule would be. What tracks you'd like to see,